live on the air. I'm Richard Saile.
This is wild.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Lounge Time. I'm your host, Rich Saile, and today it is the first episode of 2026. And boy, did we have a great quarterfinal matchup slate for college football playoff. Wow, do we have some stuff to go over today. We have two upsets we did not expect that happened. Two of my most hated teams in college football lose on the biggest stage. Oh, I'm so happy. So this year continues to be great. Plus, we got NFL Week 18 picks, which are going to be really rapid fire because there are some teams resting for the playoffs. Others are shutting it down for the last game of the season because they're out and they don't want to risk injury. Don't blame them. Now today, we're going to start with the college football playoff recaps. We're going to go in order. So we're going to start with Miami, Ohio State, then we're going to go to Oregon, Texas Tech, then we're going to go Alabama, Indiana, and then we're going to finish with Ole Miss, Georgia. Small preview on the Final Four matchups because I want to get into the NFL Week 18 picks. That way it's out of the way, and then I'll briefly review next week's schedule. We're moving now towards a Monday and Friday now because we have no more Thursday night football games. We have all of our games mostly for the next 3 weeks, Saturday and Sunday. Now, I know Wild Card Weekend, they're going to have that super Wild Card Weekend, one Monday night game. We'll go over the playoff schedule on Monday when we get the full bracket, and then we'll talk about what game falls on the following Monday night. We'll go over everything next week regarding the NFL playoff bracket. But today's show is focused mostly on college football playoff quarterfinal recaps. Let's start off with the first game on New Year's Eve, Miami and Ohio State in the Cotton Bowl. Now, I did not see this coming. I'm going to be honest. I thought Miami didn't have much of a chance. The only chance Miami had, I thought, was they had to play super clean and Carson Beck had to play absolutely phenomenal. And if I'm being honest, he did okay. I mean, he managed the game. He didn't turn it over, but he didn't win the game by himself. They leaned on their offensive line, their running game. He played a clean game, and their defense, which I'm going to get to in a little bit, because I am going to admit when I'm wrong, I did not think Miami's defense was this good. I was wrong, but we'll get to them in a minute because they were the reason that Miami pulled off this upset. We're going to get into that in just a moment. But Miami's offense, Ohio State knew that Malachi Toney was the guy they were going to go at. Kind of limited him in impact. He didn't really do much. Mark Fletcher Jr., I'll say this. If there's one guy other than Toney on Miami's offense to be worried about, it's him. This guy, every time, he had some big runs against A&M in the first round, despite them not scoring a lot. This game, he had almost 100 yards against a really good Ohio State defense. 90 yards on the ground on 19 carries. So, the Miami's offense, it's going to be a running game. They're going to lean on their defense. They want to win the line of scrimmage. And that's exactly what the identity of Mario Cristobal is. He was a former offensive lineman, played under Miami, the Hurricanes, when they had Jimmy Johnson back as the head coach. And that's when Miami was like a powerhouse team back in those days. Into the 90s, into the early 2000s. Now, they were really good for that stretch of time. But this was a big big win. Probably easily, I'm going to say this right now, this is their best win since the dynasty days of the early 2000s when they had draft prospects. Oh my God. They were, those of you that don't know who those Hurricane teams had, just go look it up. Go look up 2000 to 2003 Hurricane teams. Those guys, man, they had some draft picks. Oh my God. Just go look it up. All right. I'm going to save you the whole spiel because I could go on and on about the history of the Canes draft picks within the last 25 years. But there's really not much after 03 that, because of their fact, they haven't quite been that dynamic team until maybe this season. Although it might be hard to argue with the other side of the bracket the way it's folding. Let's go to the story of the game and the reason why the Hurricanes won against the Buckeyes, their defense. I knew Miami's defense was good. I didn't think it was going to be this good. I didn't think it was going to be this good. I really didn't. I mean, A&M, I was like, all right, Marcel Reed, he's not great, but he's not top-level, elite-level quarterback play this season, like a Mendoza, like a Julian Sain, before New Year's Eve night, of course. I wouldn't even have put him maybe in the upper half. I mean, Marcel Reed was just in the middle. But what they did to Julian Sain and that Ohio State offensive line, I mean, he looked like he was never comfortable in the pocket throughout the whole game. He was under duress, under pressure every play. The whole night, he was never settled. He missed some throws. He could not throw the ball away. I mean, that Miami pass rush, I don't want to say it looked like the 90s pass rush days, and if you know the Canes history, you know exactly what I'm saying. I mean, that was a clinic. Ruben Bain, we talked about him. The first round game when he dropped 3 sacks on A&M after the A&M offensive lineman said it wasn't going to be a problem blocking him. And I got to say one thing. How is this man projected into the mid-teens to the early 20s in NFL draft prospects? I could have sworn 2 months ago he was projected to be a top 5 pick. Now all of a sudden he's in the 19 to 20 range? What are we doing? He's not... No, what? That low? No, come on. The eye test, if you guys believe in the eye test, this dude's a top 5 pick. How is he projected 19 to 20? I'm telling you, somebody's going to get a steal if he ever goes that low. There's just no way. There's just no way he's projected that low. And I get it. The edge rush class is really deep. I understand. You've got guys, and I'm trying to think quickly, David Bailey from Texas Tech. Oh my God. I watched him against Oregon, which we're going to save a little bit. He flashed, okay? Ruben Bain's obviously in the class. TJ Parker is really good from Clemson. I think he's a little lower, but he's kind of in that selection where it's around where Ruben Bain is projected to go. This is a deep edge rushing class, which, yes, New England needs to go get an edge rusher. Great for my team and a lot of other teams that need edge rushers too. Okay, but they really were the story of that game. I mean, Moten in the middle, Ahmad Moten at defensive tackle, Messidor on the other side of the edge. I mean, this Canes defensive line, if they can play like they did against Ohio State for 2 more games, and like they played against A&M, they're going to be a tough out. They're going to be a tough defense to be able to kind of block and hold up for 4 quarters. It's going to be tough to block them. Because if those guys are winning matchups, they can wreck the game. And Miami has pass rushers. And I think, to me, this is the thing. Now, I said it going on Monday's show. I said Ohio State was going to get the pick 6, and that was what's going to win the game for them. It actually was the other way around. It was Miami who got the pick 6, and it was early in the game. And that was not the knockout punch, but that was basically the play of the game. Keontae Scott. And he jumped looked like a bubble wrap, but I know Ruben Bain had his hands up in the air, tried to swat the ball, but he got it just off to the left, and Jaden Scott jumped the play, and I was like, wow. Or not Jaden Scott, I'm thinking of the NC State running back when I say that. Keontae Scott, I'm sorry. Keontae Scott jumps the play and gone. And I was like, okay. Ohio State's down 14-0 early. They haven't been down this much. Which brings me to the cherry on the top point. Ohio State can beat teams that are less physical than them. What do I mean by that? Well, last year when they won the title, they were more physical than Tennessee. They were more physical than Oregon. They were more physical than Texas. And they were more physical than Notre Dame. 3 of those 4 teams, maybe all 4, were not as physically matched up front. That could give them problems. Maybe Texas a little bit because they had a really deep defensive line that year. But Quinn Ewers was basically the reason they didn't really do much in that game. So that's why I kind of say 3 of the 4. Notre Dame at times had moments where they were right there. But in general, for 4 quarters, Ohio State, they can win with finesse. They can't win being the bully. And when they run into a team that is the bully, they get bullied. And that's what happened with Michigan when Ryan Day couldn't beat Michigan. That's what happened with Miami New Year's Eve. I'm telling you, this is the one kryptonite with Ryan Day is when he meets a team that is the bully, his teams get bullied. And I think this team is a finesse-oriented team. You're seeing it lately since Michigan found the formula, running the ball, physical offensive line and defensive line. When they won those 4 straight meetings, Miami now adding to that. And don't forget, Mario Cristobal, once upon a time, went into the horseshoe and beat Ohio State when he was the coach at Oregon. And they gave it to them that year, too. So I look at Ryan Day's teams. They're just so finesse-oriented. They got speed with Carnell Tate, Jeremiah Smith, Brandon Innes, the running back Bo Jackson, Julian Sain, but they don't have those bullies up front. They don't have those guys that just clog the lane. And Miami ran out a defensive line that, for the most part, was really good all season. That was the first time I've ever seen an Ohio State defense, somebody move the ball that well on them all game that they did. And it was like, they can't hold up front. They can't get a push. Nothing. And that, to me, is what won the game. The Miami defense out-bullied Ohio State. And they were the team that said, you know what? We're the big bad team. You are not the national defending champs. We're taking that belt from you. And as Michael Irvin said, they put belt to ass. And that's exactly what the Canes did. And on offense, too. Francis Mualga up front on the right side. They ran the ball down Ohio State's defense. And Mark Fletcher Jr., again, he's had 2 games where he's had monster games running the football. And honestly, Miami controlled the game on their terms. And that's why the Canes are advancing to the semifinals to play Ole Miss. And that's going to be a game where I want to see if Miami's going to be able to get some rush on Trinidad Chambliss. And I watched him last night. We're going to save it for that recap. But Miami winning at the line of scrimmage, exactly the identity Mario Cristobal wants to play with. Now, let's go to Oregon, Texas Tech, which I'm not going to go too much in depth. The last thought I have on Ohio State is suspect play calling in the first half. It just felt very not like Ohio State to not get Jeremiah Smith involved, especially since Miami was one of the schools Jeremiah Smith considered before committing to Ohio State, which I didn't know that until the day of the game. And I was like, wow, that's interesting to know. Could see why he wanted to go to Miami. But he got his championship ring, so he should be happy about that. But very suspect play calling in the first quarter. Well, first half, I should say. And then second half, they force-fed Jeremiah Smith. But honestly, I just want to know this. Last thought. Where is Barstool Tate at? Because he was awfully quiet. He was so down yesterday because Ohio State lost. And good. They're annoying. Get them the fuck out because they get so big and bad when they win. And now they fucking finally came back down to earth. They finally humbled. Good. And I'm going to save it for the other team that I'm glad is out because now the two most toxic fan bases to me in the last 10 years that I've had it put up with are fucking finally, like, silenced. We'll save it for that next game. But I want to go over Oregon, Texas Tech because, if anything, this was the one game that I was kind of disappointed as far as that did not live up to the hype. This was probably the one game that didn't live up to the hype as much. Indiana, Bama, I'll save it for later. But this game, I thought Texas Tech would play much better. But the big concern about Texas Tech I had came to full existence. Their offense struggled to move the ball at Oregon, and they turned the ball over badly. I mean, they were coughing it up so bad. It was to a point where I was like, wow. Like, Baron Morton, he did not look comfortable. He could not find anybody open. That offensive line, it did okay, but there were moments Oregon got to him. But the Oregon defense stifled their run game. They got turnovers, and when they got turnovers, Oregon capitalized on the other end. And that's really what happened. Texas Tech put on such a bad performance offensively. You almost feel bad for the defense that is so good on that side of the ball. I mean, they were really good, that defense. They played every bit to keep them in that game. But that offense couldn't even help them out. They had nobody that could give them any sort of production on that end. And it was kind of disappointing. You see now why they're trying to go after a Brendan Sorsby, top transfer portal target now at quarterback. You see why they're trying to go after somebody. Because they need a quarterback to win. Baron Morton was not the guy. But I think they need more than just a quarterback. They need skill guys. They need to get something on offense to where they can compete for national championships. Oregon had an offense where finally Decory and Moore got healthy. Okay, they had some guys like Noah Whittington that were able to get the ball going in the running game. Jordan Davison, who was able to get going out of the backfield at times. And they didn't run the ball really that great. De'Aaron Hill Jr., I think, had the one touchdown on the tail end of the game. No, he did not. Davison had 2 touchdowns. Kenyon Sadiq, who supposedly might be a Patriots draft pickup this April. Seen him make some plays. Jamari Johnson, I know there was a Johnson somewhere. Malik Benson. I mean, they got the ball to their best players, and that's exactly what Oregon did. And they didn't really light it up statistically, but they were the more physical team up front. 2 rushing touchdowns. Their defense, they did what they had to do. They got Baron Morton into some really, really tough situations. Mateo Uiagalelei, Brandon Finney Jr., he had a game. 2 picks, 2 fumble recoveries. This dude, he had a game. Hats off to him. He played awesome. So, and then that defense, they did what they had to do. They created turnovers. They got to the quarterback. They made the plays when they had to. And honestly, Oregon was a better team. And I said this was the one game that was the toss-up game because these were so evenly matched teams. I did not think Texas Tech's offense was this bad compared to a big boy, and it showed. The biggest concern I had was, can Texas Tech score? Because we know their defense, they can get after Dante Moore, which early on in that game, they did. David Bailey, Romello Height, they had the defensive tackle that really got after Lee Hunter, I believe his name was. Okay, they got after him. Ben Roberts had the 1 pick. But I'll say this. That offense was a shell of what it was. And it showed that, you know what? If you're going to compete for national championships, you need an offense. Oregon, Dante Moore, it was simple. Get the ball out quick. Get into second and manageable. Get on schedule. Get into second and manageable. Get into third and short. And that's exactly what Oregon did. And give credit to Dan Lanning's group. Now, Dan Lanning, they got an opportunity to get back in Indiana, which that is going to be fireworks on display next Friday. I can't wait. We might be doing the show following that game on Friday. So that's a real late show Friday that'll be out Saturday morning. Possibly. I'm going to make the decision on Monday if I'm going to do that for you guys, because there's a real chance it might be, because that way we can go over both games, small preview of the national championship game, and then go into the NFL playoffs. I don't know. I might decide how I'm going to do that. Maybe we'll break it up into 2 small episodes just to kind of separate the two. I don't know. We're going to play it by ear. But Oregon has a chance to get back. Dan Lanning's group, 2 wins now, and this Oregon team is really, really good. That one Indiana game, okay, that happens. I mean, it sucks it was at home that they lost, but this team is really good, and they gave it to Texas Tech, and that's a good football team. That's a very good football team, and I think you're going to see a lot of these guys on Oregon be playing on Sundays. They have a really, really nice team, and give credit to Dan Lanning. Let's go to Alabama, Indiana, where there's not much left of this game either to talk about. I'm going to be honest. This show, I'm surprised if it won't be quick, but Alabama, Indiana, I mean, is there really much to talk about? I mean, Indiana, that was a great beatdown on Alabama, or as I'm going to call it, the Bama beatdown. And honestly, good. Because it reinforced my point I've been saying for the last month on this show. Alabama did not deserve to be in the college football playoff. You're going to tell me, all these people that said to me Notre Dame should never have been in the playoff, they weren't that good. You're going to tell me Notre Dame would have got spanked that bad on a national stage like Indiana just did to Alabama? I would argue no way in hell. Not that bad. Not that bad. I mean, Indiana said, you know what, Bama? You're the dinosaurs now. You're done. You're done. You ain't the dynasty. This is now the Curt Cignetti era of college football, which I never thought I would say 2 years in. And I remember when I was on the Sports Hammer last year, my guys, they liked Indiana, and I was like, yeah, but I think it's a little early. It's a cute story. Now, after getting beat pretty handily last year at Notre Dame, Cignetti really had the process that he built. And I'll say this, he got guys that weren't really the biggest household names. And he's turned them into guys that just great fit situationally their program. They fit the scheme. And Mendoza, or as I'm going to say, Heisman-doza, because I have him as my quarterback and ultimate team for college football 26. I'm calling him Heisman-doza for this episode for now. He played like the Heisman Trophy winner. Basically flawless, 14 to 16 for, I want to say it was 192. Yeah, 192. I was going to say 193. But 3 touchdowns. And Indiana's like, nope, we're going to run it up. And then it got to a point where they're like, all right, we're good. But 14 in the fourth quarter, 17 in the second. I mean, Kalen Black, Roman Hemby, they can run the ball 4.3 yards per carry. 50 times they ran that ball for 215 yards. They ran the ball 50 times. And when we think of Indiana, we didn't think of them as this running team. We thought of them as, okay, they got Mendoza, they got Omar Cooper Jr., they got Charlie Becker, they got Elijah Surratt. They're going to throw. No, they can run the ball equally as well, too. And Alabama, this ain't the scary, vaunted Bama defense that had Christian Barmore, that had Dalvin Tomlinson, okay, that had those guys in the middle that controlled the line of scrimmage. Those days are over. Those days are over. They're not going to get the 5-star recruits like Nick Saban did anymore. No, they're not. They're not. This team is done. They are dinosaurs now of college football. They're done. Okay? It is the Curt Cignetti era of college football. That's what it is. He's going to get his low-star guys that maybe aren't the biggest names, and he's going to develop them, and he's going to retain his guys. And honestly, if he's able to do that, this might be the new blueprint to how you win long-term and keep your core and build sustained success in college football. And I think Cignetti is onto something with what he's got going in Indiana. And what's funny is they don't really have the biggest pockets when you think of NIL. You think of Texas Tech. You think of the Texas Longhorns, oil money. You think of Oregon with Nike money. You think of Ohio State. Okay, you think of LSU. You don't think Indiana. Well, now with how well they're doing, they're going to be in a position where they might have the new blueprint to building a sustained winning success in college football. And I know you're saying to me, Rich, this is year 2 of Cignetti. Let's give it a little more time before we say this. No. I'm going to get ahead of the curve on this. He doesn't get the 4 or 5-star guys. He gets those under recruits, develops them, and then retains them. And then he'll mix in a couple pieces that they get. They just know exactly what they need. And honestly, Brandon Walker, he said Alabama would beat Indiana. Well, that take did not age well. That's what he kind of gets for being an Indiana hater at times and being SEC biased. And honestly, if I'm being honest, the SEC, that SEC bias ain't still working now much anymore. Oh no. Paul Feinbaum said Indiana had a shot. Indiana had, they had a nice little run. He couldn't stand Cignetti, but Alabama had a shot. And I'm like, did we not watch Alabama fall behind 17-0 to Oklahoma? You're going to tell me Indiana is not a team that's tested already like Oklahoma? Really? You're going by past narratives, which they did before the game. And it was so bad, even Herb Street and Chris Fowler were like, this is a embarrassing performance by Alabama, which, let's get to Alabama. Because this year continues to be the greatest year of my sports fandom in a long time. Because earlier in the season, the Chief bandwagons are out, and they got humbled, and their dynasty's done. And I remember when Alabama lost to Florida State, I'm like, oh yeah, it's done. And then everybody came back and was like, not yet, Rich. Not yet, Rich. You did it too early. And I was like, you know what? Let them gas themselves up a little bit because they're like, oh, well, that was game 1. Let them gas themselves up. And then they lost to Oklahoma and they lost to Georgia. And I'm like, you're not very good. You should have never made the playoff to begin with, which I still believe that they weren't that good. And I still believe they should never have made the college football playoff. To be honest, I don't think they should have. And I know Stephen A. Smith was saying that because he's an Alabama fan himself. Well, you Bama bandwagons, get ready for some early exits because you're done. Your days of dominating the SEC, no more. The days of the SEC being so big and bad and better than everybody, those days are over. It's over. The SEC has 3 wins in the playoff, 2 of them by one team alone, who doesn't even have their main head coach because he went to LSU. Their interim is 2 wins. And granted, one of them was against Tulane. I get it. But we'll get to that game in a little bit. 2 wins are by Ole Miss. The other one was by Bama against a not-so-good Oklahoma team that, honestly, you can't convince me Notre Dame would not have beat Oklahoma. They would have beat Oklahoma. And they definitely would not have got beat this bad by Indiana. Alabama was never good. They were never a top 12 team. And this committee, I said the day after the rankings came out, terrible that they put a 3-loss team that quote-unquote should never have been punished for losing a championship game. They put them in over Notre Dame. No. And look what you got. You got Bama absolutely beat down. Ty Simpson did not look good in that game for a majority because the Indiana defensive line, they pressured him. And they never got in a rhythm on offense. They could not run the ball because they don't have guys that can bully you at line of scrimmage. This is no more Nick Saban's Alabama. You are done. You Bama bandwagons, get ready for 9-3 maybe as your ceiling. You are not winning the SEC anytime soon. I'm going to tell you why. Because Georgia, I know they lost last night. Georgia's still winning the SEC championship the last 2 years. Texas with Sark, they got money. LSU with Lane Kiffin, wait till he gets going with them. Ole Miss ain't going to be that bad. Let's see what Pete Golding does. Okay, Florida, well, let's see with them. I mean, John Summerall I like, but they're not doing anything, okay? A&M with Mike Elko. I know they had a bad way they lost in the playoffs, but Mike Elko's a damn good coach. Okay? Your days of winning the SEC are done. You're maybe 9-3 at best is your ceiling. You ain't going anywhere. You're done. You're not getting the guys. This is a soft-ass team that's all finesse. Kalen DeBoer has never had a team that's been physical. No, this is a soft-ass finesse football team. That's Alabama for you right now. And take that, Paul Feinbaum. Take that, Stephen A. Smith, because you guys that proclaim that Alabama roll tide for fucking thinking this is the same old teams that dominates the SEC for the last 15 plus years. Okay, all you guys that think Alabama's head and shoulders above teams, those days are done. Alabama's no longer those teams. The aura and mistake and history and all that, done. Done. That's in the past. We're in right now. We're in right now. And right now, the SEC is on pace to be 3 years without a national championship. And their last team to do it, it's now close to 1,100 days since they won that championship. That ain't good. But guess what? Bama bandwagons, bye-bye. Ohio State bandwagons, bye-bye. Go hibernate. I love this Final Four because 3 of the 4 teams haven't even won a championship. And it's likelihood one of them's going to win it. Miami's the only one who has one, and that was back in 2001 when that team was really, really good. But Alabama, you're done. You don't have guys that can help run the football. You have guys that are all finesse and all speed and flashy, but let me tell you, you don't have those grit and grind guys anymore. The guys that are willing to do the dirty work, stop the run the football. Nope. You're a soft-ass team. You're all finesse. And that's what you got yesterday. Bama beatdown. That's what you guys are. And all the fake bandwagons, goodbye. Get the hell away from me. Y'all are not even real Alabama fans. Bye-bye. Okay? Now, there's some that are. I get it. You're not used to this. We'll get used to these early exits. Because you're going 9-3 as a ceiling. Done. Done. You're at best case, you're maybe finish top 2 or 3 once in a blue moon. It ain't going to happen. It ain't going to happen. Let's go to the last game of the night. Ole Miss and Georgia, which honestly was the best game of the 4 games. It just was. Now, I know people are going to say, well, Rich, Georgia, you said was your best bet of the whole slate, and you lost. I know. Kirby Smart, you've got 2 national championships back-to-back. You've won 2 straight SEC championships, which cannot be ignored. You've been in, I want to say, and I'm making sure I'm correct on this. You've been in 5 straight SEC championship games. 5 straight, right? You've won 3 in a row. Well, not 3 in a row, but 3 of the last 4. Your only loss was to Bama in Nick Saban's final year. And that was when you were number 1 in the country. What he's done with Georgia is phenomenal. But the one weakness we are seeing with Georgia is when they play a really high-powered offense, and this happened with Nick Saban at times too with Alabama, they get lit up. And that's exactly what happened last night. Ole Miss looked like the high-powered offense that they would be, that they were with Lane Kiffin. But Lane Kiffin didn't coach last night. He didn't coach him in the first round. Georgia cannot stop a high-powered offense. And I know you're going to be like, well, Tennessee, aren't they high-powered offense? No. Not like Ole Miss this season. Nope. And Ole Miss put up 30 plus on him the first meeting. Could have put up 40. And Gunnar Stockton, he did okay. I mean, he didn't turn the ball over. He didn't wow anybody. I mean, he made a couple of nice runs. Nate Frazier got banged up. I mean, they had guys like Zachariah Branch, 1 touchdown, 8 catches, 67 yards. But then everybody else, the next highest guy, 45 yards. They don't have guys that can match a team that can score at will. They don't. And again, the same problem last year. At times can be their own weakness. And Mike Bobo, I know he was great for Georgia, okay? At certain points, maybe an all right quarterback. And he's been okay as a offensive mind, excuse me. But last year, it was all about Mike Bobo, that they couldn't move the ball in Notre Dame. Well, Notre Dame was more physical than Georgia. They were. But they can't stop a high-powered offense. And the fact that Gunnar Stockton, he had 3 total touchdowns, 2 rushing, 1 throwing, and he did everything he could. That Georgia defense could not get pressure, 0 sacks. They did not, I believe they didn't get any, they had one fumble all game. Dalen Everett got. 1 takeaway they had. And that was when, I believe it was on the lone defensive touchdown of the game. Because I could have sworn that was when Kawan Lacey fumbled the ball. And I want to make sure I'm right on this. Because I know Kawan Lacey fumbled. And I think it was a defensive touchdown. I want to make sure I'm right about this. Yeah, it's 47 yards. It was a lone takeaway of the game. And they did not convert well on 3rd down. Their offense, they had 343 total yards, which is all right. But when you play teams like an Ole Miss, when you play a high-powered offense, you have to be able to either get stops or you need to match score for score with them. And they didn't get either of them. They matched it. Well, they had a lead early. And then Ole Miss came crawling back. And then they retook the lead. And then Ole Miss went up 10. And then they got their scoring back to tie the game. And then when they needed to stop, nope. Ole Miss went right down and scored. Now let's give Ole Miss credit, okay? Because I did not think Ole Miss would win. And I will give Ole Miss credit. I was wrong about them this week. I thought they would score, but I didn't think that they would be able to outscore Georgia because I thought at times they would miss Lane Kiffin for teams like this. Well, Trinidad Chambliss said, nope, we don't miss Lane Kiffin. We still got Charlie Weiss Jr. As long as we have someone who knows the offense that can send me the plays that I'm comfortable with, I can cook Georgia. It's exactly what he did. 30 of 46 for 362 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, he was on fire. I mean, he made some throws where I was like, whoa. Okay. For a Division II quarterback, and then going on the biggest stage and playing like that, man, okay, I'm impressed. He really played awesome. Kawan Lacey had almost 100 yards on the ground. 2 touchdowns for him on 22 carries. And then those receivers, I mean, Harrison Wallace, 9 for $156 and a touchdown. DeZon Stribling, 7 for 122. And then Luke Hayes, he had the 1 touchdown that was 3 yards out. I mean, Ole Miss, they got 2 sacks. They got the 1 fumble late. They were able to match him. Chambliss looked comfortable for the most part. There was no pressure in his face. And when they did bring heat, he had answers for it. Ole Miss played a great game offensively. They did. And Chambliss answered the call. Those receivers made plays. And that running game, Kawan Lacey, he ran the ball down their throat. They had everything they wanted on offense, and they gave it to Georgia. They controlled the game the way that they wanted to play. And a team that was up 10, I was like, well, okay. Let's see if they can hold on. And Georgia comes crawling back. I'm like, oh, boy. And when that guy had 2 flags thrown on him, and I forgot his name. I'm going to try to get his name for him now because there was one guy who had like 2 flags drawn on him, and I was like, oh boy, this ain't great. And I'm trying to think who it was. I want to see if I can get his name. Oh wait, here we go. I got the sheet right here. But I want to make sure I get his name right too, because I was like, oh man, this Georgia's going to go score. Gushikin, I think his name is. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. He was the corner. They got 2 flags drawn on him, and I'm like, oh boy. They found their matchup. They're going to go at him, and they're going to score. And then they got held to 3, and I'm like, yep. Ole Miss is going to go right down, aren't they? And you know, and I'm going to be honest with you guys. You know the moment when I knew Georgia was cooked? When the worst gambler in all of sports, Book It with Trent, and for those of you that bet and see his tweets on X, you know exactly what I'm talking about. For those of you that don't know, this guy is the single worst gambler I have ever seen in sports. Now, I have seen some bad ones on some shows in years past, okay? Book It with Trent is the single worst gambler in all of sports. And let me just remind you his picks. He had Ohio State, lost. He had Texas Tech, lost. He had Alabama, lost. And he had Georgia. And as soon as I seen the Georgia pick, I'm going, my best bet's cooked. I'm like, why? And that's exactly my reaction when I saw him pick Georgia. I'm like, yep, I'm cooked. I just don't want to say anything. And God damn it, he ruined my fucking best bet. I'm telling you, tip of advice. Anything Book It with Trent bets, fade. Fade. Go the other way. You'll win money most of the time. Those of you that do bet, those of you that don't bet, don't worry about that. Okay? But he's the worst. But Pete Golding, I thought he was an all right coach going back years when he was the defensive coordinator for Nick Saban, because I was like, well, he's kind of Nick Saban's puppet because Nick Saban's really running things on defense. And his calling cards defense, I didn't think his defense played that great, if I'm being honest. I didn't think his defense played that great. So, I mean, I think he's all right as a coach, but I don't think he's, like, great. Plus, it's really Lane's team he's now winning with. So, I don't know. I just think he's all right. I do. But now there's the whole conflict of Charlie Weiss Jr. and some of those Ole Miss staff guys are following Lane Kiffin at LSU because today is the opening of the transfer portal and it's National Signing Day or whatever the hell it is. But I know today's the opening of the transfer portal. And they're trying to meet with people, and I know one of their meetings is Brendan Sorsby, who Texas Tech's meeting with first. And I just think, and then he's meeting LSU next, and it's just like, this is not really a distraction. So now some of those guys might not be able to coach in the game Thursday, which, again, this is going to be their problem. And this is why I kind of thought it would catch up with them against Georgia. I was wrong. Which brings me to the small previews that I'll talk more about on Monday. And I'm going to go with, I'll tell you this. So, for those of you that don't know the schedule, Ole Miss-Miami is going to be on Thursday. That is believe it's the Fiesta Bowl. And I'm going to double check for you guys because I have the playoff schedule in front of my screen. Let me make sure I have this right for you guys. Yep, it's the Fiesta Bowl. Okay, so that's up in Glendale, Arizona, where the Cardinals play. And then Oregon-Indiana is going to be in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl up in Atlanta. All right, so Oregon-Indiana will be on Friday. Miami-Ole Miss will be on Thursday, for those of you that don't know the schedule. Okay, so now we get one game a night. So my thoughts on Miami-Ole Miss briefly. The key to me is going to be Miami wins at the line of scrimmage. Ole Miss wants to throw it up and rely on their high-powered offense. Can Miami get Ole Miss off schedule on both sides of the ball? Can Miami win the line of scrimmage? I think offensively it's going to be a test. How do they slow down Ole Miss? Because they slowed down Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate, but Ohio State wasn't really a fast-paced offense like Ole Miss is. So how's Miami going to match up with Ole Miss and their firepower offensively? Are they going to try to slow the game down with Mark Fletcher Jr.? Can they win the line of scrimmage? That's what I think is going to be the key. Can their pass rush of Ruben Bain Jr., Mesidor, Ahmad Moten Jr., can those guys dictate Ole Miss offense off schedule? Can they get them into second and long? Can they get them into third and long? Can they get it to favorable down and distances to where they can rely on their front four to get after Chambliss? Can their secondary contain those receivers? That's what I'm looking forward to seeing in that game. How does Miami slow down Ole Miss high-powered offense? I'll elaborate more on Monday when I have the picks because I'm thinking about doing picks for both of these games. Now, Oregon-Indiana. For those of you that tuned in a little late this year, Indiana went into Oregon, Alton Stadium, and they beat Oregon. Now, that game, for the most part, was a close game. And late in that game, Mendoza had a pick six. Oregon tied it up. And then Dante Moore had two critical interceptions that flipped the game upside down, and Indiana took advantage of that. Well, now this is an opportunity where two quarterbacks who I think are both going to be top 5 picks, maybe top 3, depending on the draft order after Sunday. I think this is going to be an interesting game to see how Indiana is going to approach Oregon, because I think Oregon was one of the very few teams that could hang around a little bit. And I think Oregon, to me, is going to have to find a way to trust their defense to get after Mendoza. Get him off his spot, get him uncomfortable, right? Do they blitz Mendoza? What kind of coverage shells do they have against these receivers? Can they stop the run? And they've got playmakers on defense, Oregon. They do. And then offensively, Dante Moore's got to play a clean game. And again, who is going to be the guy for Oregon that steps up, that helps make Dante Moore's life easier? Kenyon Sadiq is really good. Okay, but what if Indiana decides we're going to take away Kenyon Sadiq? Are you going to go to somebody like a DeCorian Moore? Are you going to go to the running game with Jordan Davison? That's the key for me, how Oregon's going to have to approach Indiana, because Indiana is a really good defense. Who's going to be the guy that steps up to help Dante Moore? Because he can't do it all by himself. That's kind of what I'm wondering, and I think that, to me, when I look at Indiana, I think whoever wins the line of scrimmage, to me, is kind of who will win this game. And Oregon, again, can they match Indiana physicality-wise? Because Oregon, when they lose to a team that's more physical than them. And Dan Lanning hasn't lost twice in a row to the same opponent since 2023, when the Washington Huskies beat them twice. That was the year when they had Kalen DeBoer as the coach. They had Michael Penix Jr., top 10 pick. They had Roma Dunze. They had Jalen Polk. They had guys. Indiana's got a similar team, maybe better than those guys were. But I think, again, can Oregon pressure Mendoza by blitzing, and what kind of coverage do they play off top of those receivers? And that's really the key. Offensively, who is going to help Dante Moore out? And then for Indiana, I think, again, can they run the football as well as they did on Oregon like they did against Alabama? And then defensively, their takeaways was the difference last game, and that's exactly what it is. Can they get turnovers and create them to set their offense in great field position? That's the key, I think, to those matchups. But I think both games are absolutely going to be great. And again, I'll decide next week if I'm going to do a show Friday night after the matchups, and then I'll go into the NFL playoff picks. I'm going to see. I'm going to let you guys know by Monday what my game plan is going to be. All right, let's go rapid fire to NFL Week 18 picks. This is going to be really quick because I know some teams that are resting starters, and I know teams that are not. So we're going to make this really quick. So let's get into tomorrow's action, starting off with the Carolina Panthers traveling to Tampa Bay to take on the Bucs, where the Bucs are 3-point favorites. The over and under is at 43.5 points. Now, Carolina clinches the NFC South with a win, and if they lose, they need Atlanta to win against the Saints. It's a weird tiebreaker. I don't know how, but surprisingly, they need a win or Atlanta to win in case they lose to Tampa. Don't ask me how. That's that. The Bucs get in basically with a win plus a Falcons loss. Okay? So, the way I see this game, Tampa lost to Miami. They are ice cold. And honestly, I don't like betting against Baker Mayfield unless I know I've got a team that I believe can win this game. But I'll say this. Bryce Young and them did it 2 weeks ago in Carolina. This would be a very cool story if they were to win against Tampa, especially for a guy that is trying to prove to the Panthers organization he is a franchise quarterback. And I think he's had a much better year than his first 2 years in the league. So this is a big game for him. And the old saying goes, if you see a team that's sliding and that does not look good, you keep fading them and you bet against them until you lose. So what does that mean? I'm taking the Panthers. Give me the Panthers money line. I'm going with the Panthers. The Bucs seem like a team that the ship is sinking. They're basically the Titanic. They're done. This team is officially going the wrong way. That ship is hanging afloat. And then they're waiting for that one more crack to just completely sink the ship. And I think Carolina is going to be the team that says, all right, we're winning the South. This is our division now. They're going to beat the Bucs. I'm going with the Panthers. I'm going to say 24-19. Panthers beat the Bucs in Tampa. The second game of the Saturday NFL slate. The Seahawks travel to San Francisco to take on the Niners, where the Seahawks are 2.5-point favorites on the road. The over and under is at 47.5 points. Seattle's lone loss on the road is to the LA Rams. The 49ers are playing really good football on offense. Brock Purdy somehow now has gained serious confidence to where he's playing well. But this Seattle team, I'll tell you right now, the key to this game is, can their defense get to Purdy? If their defense can't get to Purdy, it's going to be a tough game for them to hang around because offensively, I don't know if they could score with the Niners. And you're probably like, Rich, well, they scored 27 against Carolina on the road. They're fixed. They scored 30-something on the Rams. Yes. And the Niners' defense isn't that good. Their pass rush is shaky. Yes. But I think, to me, you have to get Purdy pressured early. You have to get him running around. But you also have to contain Purdy. And I think Seattle has a good mix of a secondary and a pass rush that can get after Purdy. But something tells me the Niners, Shanahan is a coach that, to me, you don't want to bet against him at home. But I don't know. Like, Sam, to me, like, again, Sam Darnold, to me, has to protect the ball. Because he almost botched the Rams game. 2 interceptions, one of them being a pick six. And yes, he responded well. We will give him his credit. He's got to be able to play a clean game and manage the game to where he doesn't make mistakes. And he doesn't be the reason his team's got to win. Now, are there certain situations where he's going to have to do it? Yes. I'm going to take the hot Niners team. I'm going to take 2.5 on the road. I think Seattle is better equipped to win on the road. I think Seattle, it wouldn't shock me if they win, but I'm going with the Niners because I'm not betting against the hot team right now. This team's scary good right now on offense. I know that their pass rush is not good. I get it. But Seattle, to me, the question is, do I trust Sam Darnold in a big game once again to win on the road, to win a division title? Last year, do we remember what he did against Detroit? Do we remember what happened after Detroit? Yeah. I think that the Niners are going to win against Seattle. It's going to be close. I think they're going to win. I'm going to say 27-23. Niners beat Seattle. I think that Shanahan, to me, I trust more at home than I do on the road. And I think that because the Niners won early in week 1 in Seattle, that helps them. but I also just don't trust Sam Darnold with a lot at stake at this point right now. Give me the Niners to win 27-23, and I'll take the 2.5. All right, now we get to the quick games that I can just breeze through. All right, the Tennessee Titans travel to Jacksonville to take on the Jaguars, where the Jags are 13.5-point favorites. The over-under is at 47.5 points. So Jags almost 14-point favorites at home. All right, Jaguars win. I think it's going to be 30-13. I don't even want to waste time on this. I know Cam Ward's playing a little better, but Jacksonville playing for seeding at this point. Liam Cohen's doing a good job. Jacksonville 30-13. All right, the Colts travel to Houston to take on the Texans, where the Texans are 10-point favorites. The over-under is at 38.5 points. Riley Leonard is starting for the Colts, not Phillip Rivers. Told you that wouldn't age well. I am taking the Texans because I do think this team is going to win. They don't sound like they're resting people, so I'm going to go with the Texans to win 23-10. I don't think that Riley Leonard is going to do much on the Texans. The Colts' lone touchdown will be from Jonathan Taylor, but Texans win 23-10. They will play, in my opinion, the Ravens-Steelers winner in the wild card round of the playoffs. All right, now we get to the elimination games that both of these teams are out. Well, yeah, for the most part. Cowboys travel to MetLife to take on the Giants, where the Cowboys are 3.5-point favorites. The over and under is listed at 49.5 points. Don't care about this game. I'll take the Cowboys just because I think the Giants kind of want that top 5 pick. I'm taking Dallas to win, and I think they're going to put up somewhere between, I'm going to go 31. I'm going to go 31-13, Cowboys. The Browns travel to Cincinnati to take on the Bengals, where the Browns are the Bengals are 7.5-point favorites at home. The over and under is at 44.5 points. All right. Bengals win, but it's going to be 20-10. I think the Browns defense, Myles Garrett's going to get the sack record against Joe Burrow. I think that the Bengals will beat Cleveland this time, and I just think that the Browns offense, I don't trust to move the ball well. Give me the Bengals 20-10 on the Browns. The Packers travel to Minnesota to take on the Vikings, where the Vikings are 8.5-point favorites. The over and under is at 37.5 points. Jordan Love is not playing until the playoffs. Green Bay cannot move any higher in the seeding, so they're locked in as a 7 seed. No reason for Jordan Love to come back. Malik Willis now 0-1 this year as a starter. I think the Vikings play inspired. I'm going with the Vikes to win. They're going to want to win to keep Flores on the staff. I think they're going to win. J.J. McCarthy's playing a little bit better. I'm going with the Vikes to win. And I think this is going to be a little bit low scoring too. I'm going to say 20-16 Vikes beat the Packers without Jordan Love. Saints travel to Atlanta to take on the Falcons, where the Falcons are 3.5-point favorites. The over and under is at 44.5 points. All right, give me Atlanta. No, actually, hold on. Curveball. Give me the Saints. Because Tyler Shaw is playing really, really well. And the Saints, to me, they're playing much better. And I'm going to go with the Saints to win. We're going to go... This will be low scoring too, I think. We're going to go heavy field goal game. 19-16, Saints beat the Falcons. All right, the Jets travel to Buffalo to take on the Bills, where the Bills are 7.5-point favorites. The over and under is at 37.5 points. From what I've heard in this game, the Bills seem likely that they're not going to play Josh Allen. No reason to. Get him healthy for the playoffs. That's ideally the scenario here. So I would take the Bills to win. I think they're going to win without Josh. I think they're not even really worried about seeding so much, which is kind of surprising. So I'm going to take the Bills, but I would kind of expect them to win. Let's go. I don't think they're going to score much without Allen either. So I'm going to say 17-13. Bills beat the Jets. Can they get 2 touchdowns from James Cook on the Jets? I think so. 17-13, Bills beat the Jets. If Josh Allen does not play. The Dolphins travel to New England to take on the Patriots, where the Patriots are 11.5-point favorites. The over and under is at 45.5 points. I don't know what damn distractions we got going on between Stephon Diggs and Christian Barmore. I'm tired of my cousin saying to me, oh, you're a dirty organization. Well, they're not going to take 2 guys out from New England that are in the playoffs. Okay? Again, I'm not a legal expert. I don't know what the hell is going on over there. But Milton Williams is out. Spillane's out. Will Campbell probably not going to play. Get healthy for the playoffs. Take care of business against Miami. Drake May finish a 28-3 comeback for league MVP, because I win money if I do. I expect New England to hopefully win, lock up the 2 seed. Let's get 2 home playoff games if possible. I think it's the Chargers likely first round matchup. Give me New England to win. And I think depending on if the Chargers-Denver game is a blowout, I'm going to say this game is going to fall 27-16. New England beats Miami. I think New England can beat Miami, get the sweep on the Dolphins, and I think they're going to lock up the 2 seed. Washington Commanders travel to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles, where the Eagles are 4.5-point favorites. The over and under is listed at 38.5 points. All right. Eagles, low scoring though. I'm going to go 23-13 Eagles. I don't think they're going to let Mariota cook them. No way. So 23-13 Eagles beat the Commanders. The Chargers travel to Denver to take on the Broncos, where the Broncos are 12.5-point favorites. The over and under is at 37.5 points. Trey Lance is starting instead of Justin Herbert. They want to rush Justin Herbert for the playoffs. Shocker. I am taking Denver to win, unfortunately. I don't see the Chargers winning with Trey Lance. And if they do, and New England wins, I'll be happy. I don't think it'll happen, though. I'm not banking on it. So, to save my false hopes, I'm going to pick Denver to win. And we're going to go... And they're going to kind of want to pile it on a little bit. But again, the Chargers are hard to pile on. It's a good defense. Then again, Houston had 2 big play touchdowns. I'm going to say 27-17 Broncos beat the Chargers. The Lions travel to Soldier Field to take on the Bears, where the Bears are 3-point favorites. The over and under is at 50.5 points. I want to say take the over. But are the Lions going to play people because they're eliminated? I don't know if they are. They might. I think they'll make it tough. I think they will. I'm going to say Chicago 31-24 over the Lions. The Bears win. The Cardinals travel to LA to take on the Rams, where the Rams, I feel like McVay is going to pull starters from what he said. I want to get the exact point spread right now. Where the Rams are 8.5-point favorites at home. The over and under is at 46.5 points. All right. There's no doubt in my mind the Rams are going to get that bad taste out of their mouth on Monday night because they looked awful against Atlanta. I expect the Rams to win. I think they handle the Cardinals convincingly. I say 30-16. The Rams beat the Cardinals because McVay's pulling starters at half. They want to jump out huge lead at first half and then pull the starters. McVay and the Rams 30-16 on the Cardinals. The Chiefs travel to Vegas to take on the Raiders, where the Chiefs are 5.5-point favorites. The over and under is at 36.5 points. Chief bandwagons, you're winning this game, whether you get mad or not for draft positioning. Well, the Raiders are tanking for Mendoza. So give me the Chiefs to win, and we're going to go low scoring on this one as well. We're going to go 16-13. Chiefs beat the Raiders, even with a third-string quarterback. Now, the nightcap of the evening, the AFC North title on the line. The Ravens travel to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers, where the Ravens are 4.5-point favorites on the road. The over and under is at 40.5 points. Lamar's playing. The Steelers' offense, terrible. TJ Watt's banged up. He's going to try to play. Darnell Washington out for the season. DK Metcalf, the second game he is suspended for what happened against the Lions. Stupid reason for him to do that. I'm going with the Ravens. I counted them out after they lost to my team. They beat Green Bay without Lamar, and Derrick Henry ran wild. The Ravens, to me, should win this game. I expect them to win this game. Aaron Rodgers, send him into the sunset. Old man senior citizen home. I am going with the Ravens to win, and we're going to go, because this is one of those games where this could be hanging around. I'm going to say this game falls in the lines of 26-20. Ravens beat the Steelers and send Pittsburgh home packing. the Ravens play Houston in the first round of the playoffs. So those are my NFL Week 18 predictions and picks. So there you have it. There's my college football quarterfinal analysis as well. We will be back on Monday where we will break down the NFL playoff bracket. No Week 18 thoughts, so no more recaps until the wild card round concludes. So Monday's show will be NFL playoff bracket thoughts. I'm planning to have a guest in studio next week. I don't know if it's going to be Monday or if it's going to be Friday or whatever day of the week that I can find out, but I'll let you guys know. So it'll be picking the semifinal matchups between Indiana and Oregon and Ole Miss-Miami. It'll be previewing the NFL playoff bracket. We'll have some analysis kind of on some teams who could make some runs. We'll probably have me and a guest pick our playoff bracket predictions, Super Bowl picks, go from there. That way we have it a little bit more fun. And that will kind of be Monday's show. And then Friday, depending on the picks and stuff, I will see. I will let you guys know what I end up doing based on how the schedule plays out. So there you guys have it. So we'll be back on Monday with the NFL playoff bracket. We'll talk about that and picking the semifinal matchups for college football. You can follow me at LoungeTime Pod on X, where, yes, if you tweet me, I will answer. And it could be a question about the playoff picture. It could be a question about the transfer portal. Anything. Just let me know. I got questions for you. But if I don't answer it that episode, don't be worried. I'll answer it at some point. Okay? You can also follow Lounge Time on Rumble, where, yes, we're looking to build our Rumble subscribers. We only got a couple followers. We got to boost that up. But we can't do it without you guys. So try to spread the word on Rumble. Let's get some followers because I want to help grow this channel. And that way, you guys don't miss out on some important playoff content into the Super Bowl that you guys don't want to miss out. You can also hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell on YouTube, where we will have episodes on Mondays and Fridays, unless otherwise noted, which I will send out a post if it does happen. But we're looking to build our subscribers to 50 plus subscribers on YouTube. That's my goal for 2026, and some other content that I want to build on the channel. But we cannot do it without you guys, and we need you guys to help boost the following. So leave a comment down below, and I promise I will answer it for the most part. Guys, thank you so much for tuning to Lounge Time. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys on Monday, where we break down the NFL playoff bracket and pick the college football playoff semifinal matchups. Until then, have a great weekend, everybody.